Hello. So today we're going to talk about body image. Body image is, sadly or otherwise, one of the most popular subjects on Elephant Journal, which is a website devoted to living a good life that's good for other people and good for our planet. So growing up, and this isn't talked about much by men publicly, but I've struggled with issues around my weight my whole life. And I have, I regret this very moment how much energy every single day of my life I have put instead of into being a benefit to other people or to the world or to my work, or even just having fun or going for a hike or just being available, being present in this life. Instead of that, I put energy into thinking about my tummy or how much I've eaten or what I want to eat or have I eaten too much. So the good news is many of us, doesn't sound like good news, but the good news is many of us go through this. We're not alone. And habitual patterns, however they manifest, whether it's an addiction of a subtle kind, or a gross, a larger challenge like a drug addiction, alcohol, eating disorder, we all have habitual patterns. Some of those habitual patterns can just be being speedy, being rushed, being busy. Buddhism calls busyness laziness, which is a form of laziness, which is very interesting. But so the tips I'm going to offer today, many of them do come from experts, but I also want to be clear that many of them come from my own experience, and that therefore they're both very trustworthy because they're genuine and real, but they're also, I'm not an expert. I'm someone going through, not an eating disorder per se. I don't want to make a claim of that, but definitely I'm neurotic when it comes to eating, to diet. So there's a wonderful quote that I connect with and that many people connect with, which is dieting is kind of, there's a cycle to it. It seems to work and then we fall off the wagon, and then it seems to work and we fall off the wagon. So that dieting itself, as Oprah herself said at the end of many, many countless diets, she's probably the dieting expert. She said dieting just plain old doesn't work. So a mindful diet does not include dieting. It's a quote I love. A mindful diet does not include dieting. So how can we come to a point where there's balance, where there's harmony, where maybe we eat a little bit too much or not quite enough in any given hour or day, but that generally we're in harmony with our bodies. We're in harmony with our body, our speech, and our mind are all synchronized. So I'm going to go through these tips that have worked for me. And again, if you feel like any of them are questionable, I respect that. If you feel like any of them are helpful, take them with a grain of salt. Again, many of them are rooted in experts' advice. So I think just to go into my own personal history a little more, a lot of this is based out of my blog, 10 Healthy Ways to Lose Weight and Feel Your Best, which we'll link in the YouTube comment description if you want to read a more in-depth one. But is that growing up, I had immense energy, immense metabolism, and I got into this habit that maybe boys do sometimes of showing off how much I could eat. So I can eat 12 donuts all at once. It sounds gross, but it's kind of fun when you can eat an unlimited amount. I can eat 3 big heaping plates of pancakes. I can eat all the leftovers from all my friends when we go out. And that was fine, I guess, until, at the age of 25, I got my first real desk job. And suddenly I went from being active and young my whole life to being inactive, and my metabolism, I guess, has slowed down. And then suddenly my girlfriend at the time really helped me onto the path of a sort of mindful diet, figuring this out by saying, you're not, what's going on? You're skinny and you're fat at the same time. You're not in good shape. You're not the boy I fell in love with physically. And, it affects your self, the way you relate with yourself and think of yourself. And I have a video also, Maitri, which we'll link, which is how to take care of yourself, how to be kind to yourself. So we'll link that in the YouTube comment description as well. And Pema Chodron teaches a lot on Maitri. But basically, Rose, my girlfriend at the time, said, let's get you exercising. At a certain point when you're young, you don't have to exercise except for fun, like basketball or something. At a certain point when you get older, you need to actually deliberately find a sort of mindful relationship with exercise, which is a big part of a mindful diet. So finding things you enjoy. Things I enjoy: cycling every day instead of driving, road biking once in a long while, hiking with my dog, yoga, and climbing. Yoga I don't fully enjoy, but I fully enjoy the feeling after yoga. So that we'll get into. So basically, here's the tips I got for you. So exercise consistently. You don't need to do it every day. You don't need to do it aggressively. Just find an effective exercise, and an effective exercise is going to be one that you enjoy, that you're going to do not out of a sense of homework, but out of a sense of, you'll naturally want to do it. So find things that you enjoy. A subset of that is get a dog. I have a dog. He has to pee. He has to be active in order to be relaxed. And a good dog, he needs to get a lot of energy out. So because I have him, I'm always going for a hike when I don't want to, or at least getting outside, which on some days when I'm very low and I'm very tired and I'm almost depressed, can be very helpful. Number 2, don't diet. Just kind of relax, kind of give up on the diet. That doesn't mean just eat everything you want. Basically, if we can get away from the 2 extremes, binging, purging, often cleanses we have a great article on that on elephant cleanses can be kind of the socially acceptable bulimia. So number 3, don't binge. If you find yourself binging, that's okay. We all make mistakes, but as much as you can, even if you're in the process of eating too much, you can just take a deep breath and kind of calm down and be kind to yourself, which again is Maitri. Number 4, what we eat matters a lot. So if we can get away from, what a cowboy friend of mine when I was growing up called the 4 food groups, which was grease, salt, sugar, and something else, and get into the Michael Pollan diet, which is, eat real food, not too much, mostly plants. So if we can eat organic, healthy, whole foods, many of them can be very cheap. Many of them you can garden. We also have video on that. We can put in the comments. Then you'll be full and you'll be satisfied. The Tom Cruise diet. So Tom Cruise, at least at some point in his life, would talk about how he would not eat after a certain time at night. Oprah also has this. I like this, but I also don't. I think Tom Cruise stopped eating at 6 p.m. I think that's pretty extreme. For me, I just try and get rid of the sort of midnight snacking kind of thing. So out of Maitri, out of being gentle to myself, out of not trying to be too extreme one way or the other, I just never eat after midnight, which is sort of a rule I have. So I generally don't want to eat after midnight anyway. So it's pretty easy. But once in a while, maybe you're out partying, whatever's going on, or maybe you're up night owling on Netflix. You have that urge. I'm able to deal with that. Letting go of the late night snack, Ben and Jerry's move. So Maitri, we all fail, we all fail, we all fail. Forgiving that allows us to not see this as a victory or a failure, and we can let go of that sense of failing. Failing is okay. We all kind of fall off the wagon. We're all going to eat 2 pints of, in my case, vegan ice cream. Is tough. I mean, eating is one kind of habit that we can't take a break from. We need to eat consistently, and please don't starve yourself, obviously. Water, often, and especially in the morning, you feel starving, but actually you're just dehydrated. So if you can drink, lemon water is great. Water that can get rid of a lot of those hunger pangs. Again, don't get too extreme about that. Cooking, again, this is from Michael Pollan. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Cook them yourself. It's the collapse of home cooking that led directly to the obesity epidemic. So if we're cooking, we're spending time in that process. We're appreciating the food. We take more pride of sort of ownership in the process of preparing and then eating. And then We tend to eat more whole foods, less packaged foods if we're cooking. Also, as a bonus, you can do a lot of things while you're cooking often, like doing the dishes while you're cooking, dealing with little house. I often try and get my laundry done or something while I'm cooking. Wear well-fitting clothes. Often when I'm not feeling good about my weight, I naturally want to kind of cover up. Instead, wear well-fitting clothes. They don't have to be tailored, but just so that they fit, so that there's nowhere to hide. So instead of going for a hoodie or whatever, those are great. But if you feel like hiding, actually almost do the opposite and wear something that fits well, and then you'll have a naturally better posture, and you'll naturally kind of have to face the music of how you're feeling about your body and be present in your body and breathe more fully instead of kind of hiding, which can lead to depression. I basically try to keep tabs on how many meals I'm eating. I don't want to be obsessive about that or rigid about it, but I say, okay, I've had one meal, I've had one snack, I've had two snacks, I've had 2 meals, I've had whatever. If I exercise, I keep that in mind in terms of sort of the balance of how much I'm eating and how much I'm exercising. So I try and kind of basically keep a count of 3 squares a day or whatever I want to be eating. That's been very helpful for me. And whether I exercise, sort of counting against those. And then I guess the final tip, which was offered by a reader, which I love, is get some sleep. If you're sleeping enough, we tend to be kind of just in a good spot mentally, physically, and hopefully spiritually. And to go with that, meditation, being Maitri, again, being kind to yourself, and eating real food. So I think that's it. We're well over time. Thank you so much.